Doesn't matter how confident you are, you're not good at it. I'm going to say I'm not your typical A-star student, as in I did not come home from school and spend 7 hours revising. So hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Saskia and today I'm going to talk you through 5 kind of different techniques or ways that I got all A stars in sixth form. So I'm going to get straight in and talk you through the first kind of technique and the first kind of tip. Understand as you go. As you're going through your content, you need to understand it. And if you don't, you need to work out how to understand it. So let me give an example. So we were in year 12 doing the kidney and our teacher asked us, do we want to move on or would we like to spend another lesson on the kidney? Now, I did not understand the kidney. So what I did? I said, no, we're not moving it on. I was like, miss, come over here, help me understand the kidney. And I literally went through the entire kidney with her. And then I was like, right, now can I explain it to you and you tell me if I'm correct? So I was like, right, so it starts here, then it moves here, then it goes here. So that is one kind of way, ask your teachers. If you don't understand the content, you're gonna waste so much time revising. If you don't understand the content when it's being taught to you, then when it comes to revision, you're gonna waste so much time relearning the content when you could be revising and actually doing something useful for your learning. And obviously learning is useful, but when you've already had the opportunity and you could have already kind of had it in your brain, it's worth getting it in your brain as you get told the information, you want to keep it. You want to retain it rather than it just kind of going boop, boop, gone. So when your teachers set you homework to consolidate your learning, in sixth form, a lot of the work is not really extra tasks, as in if it's an extra task, it's usually an extra task that's actually helpful. Or at least it wasn't my sixth form. I don't know if my sixth form was just good. But we would literally get set, we just learned the cell cycle and we would get told, make a poster on the cell cycle. And I hate posters, I think they're a load of rubbish. But I would do that task and do it without my notes so I could see, do I actually understand the cell cycle? First of all, in yourself, do you understand what you just learned? Do you feel yeah, I could probably do this? And then when you actually do an activity, even if you're really confident in yourself, can you actually do it? I could be really confident about the cell cycle, then go and do an activity about the cell cycle and get it all wrong. Don't just go off you feeling confident about something. If you do topic tests or something, use them to work out. If you got 20% in a topic test, it doesn't matter how confident you are, you're not good at it. Then once you've got kind of a bad result, go up to your teacher and be like, hey, why did this happen? What was the bits that I was worst at? How am I supposed to kind of fix that? And be like, right, can you explain to me this definition, or can you explain to me how I should have answered this big mark question and things like that. So another way to kind of help yourself understand as you're actually going is to consolidate your learning. Now, I would watch YouTube videos. We have a lot of free periods in sixth form. When I had a free period, before lunch, after lunch, or after my lessons, I would just spend that learning about what I'd done in the lesson. A website that's helpful. So for IB biology, if we'd just done, the kidney, I'd go on IB biology websites like Bio Ninja and look at the kidney and be like, right, does this actually make sense? Do I actually get what I'm doing from here? And then I'd go on YouTube and I'd be like, right, can I find a video about, the kidney? Find different ways to consolidate your learning, because it is so important that you understand what you're being taught. And ask your teachers, they're being paid, their job is to help you. Their job is to teach you. If you don't understand it, get them to teach you. Get them to explain it to you. Get them to explain, where you're going wrong, or, what the most difficult concepts are that you really need to understand, or how to answer the questions that you're getting wrong. So, number 2 is not necessarily academic, but it will impact your academia. Look after your health. This is something I should have learned earlier. My grades don't do well when I am mentally or physically not present, not thriving. So if you're having a really bad week and going into school isn't particularly going to help that, take a few days off. I used to take mental health days all the time. And to the point where my attendance was pretty appalling, but my grades were still the best. And my grades stayed at the top and my mental health went from being at the bottom to being, it's not gonna be that good, I'm a teenager, but it went to being tolerable enough for me to get all my grades and to do well. I would not have achieved the grades that I did had I kept pushing myself and had I kept kind of destroying myself over schoolwork and thinking I had to go into school all the time. I'm gonna say I'm not your typical A-star student, As in, I did not come home from school and spend 7 hours revising. Look after yourself. Do activities that you enjoy. If you know you've got like a big deadline coming up, you know, make sure you can manage your time to meet that deadline, but also think like, you know, what am I going to do to keep myself calm before this deadline, and what am I going to do to like look after myself after the deadline. So then we have tip number 3, which is work smarter, not harder. I definitely work smarter, not harder. I did not work anywhere near as much as people at my sixth form, and I still came out with all A stars. So clearly my method worked. So number 1 for this, use the spec. Print the spec. What do your exam board want you to know? Learn what content you actually need to know, and then you know in a lesson, like, oh, for the cell cycle, I don't need to know about this section that they're talking about, or for like, or you know, you can look on the spec and think, oh, this is a massive chunk, I really need to pay attention here. You know, make sure you're covering the whole point on the spec, make sure you understand the point on the spec. Spec is just very helpful. Like, print out the spec for whatever you're doing, so that you've got it with you, you know what you need to know, you know what they want you to know, and you just know. Another kind of way to work smarter is put your efforts into the higher weighting exams and questions. In biology, we had paper 1, paper 2, paper 3. Paper 2 was worth like 50%, and the other 2 papers were worth like 20% each, which yes, together make up pretty much the 50. But I knew that paper 2 was my gold mine. Like, I was going to do really well at that because I had put my time and effort in revision, learning the important content for that exam. Work out which of your exams are the highest weighting, and kind of you can work out like that you can do a little bit worse in those other papers and still do really well. Like, I would get an A star in my paper 2, which is the highest weighting, and then I'd get like A's and B's in the other papers. And it didn't matter that I got A's and B's in those other papers, because my A star in the high weighting paper pulls me all the way up. Then if you have any coursework, I know that not everyone has coursework, but in the IB we did coursework for, you know, everything pretty much. So we had internal assessments. These were worth like 20% of our grade. And you pretty much, like, you get a draft, your teacher tells you how to fix it, and then you can secure 20% of your grade for free before you go into the exam. If you have coursework, perfect it. Spend longer on your coursework than on the exam content at the beginning, because, you know, we did our coursework in year 12, we had a year until our exams, we had plenty of time to do our coursework, get it done, and get it sorted. And then, you know, after that we could go and learn the exam content. But like, I would ask my teacher, what have I done wrong? How am I going to improve this? And like, if my first draft wasn't that great, I'd be like, right, check all of their feedback and actually change all of their feedback. I know that sometimes people think they're smarter than the teachers, and they're like, oh, well, the teacher might have said to change this, but I don't agree with that. No, you should. Like, our teachers were going to mark it and give us our final grades. So if my teacher said my graph was ugly and I was changing it for them. So, and then you want to condense your notes. This is part of working smarter. You know, I started with notes for IB biology of like 150 pages, and that was like full notes. I eventually condensed that down to 12 pages. I did 1 page per topic. I made a poster that literally said all of the key important information on it. Literally 1 A4 poster, not even double-sided, and like relatively large text with pictures sometimes. And I just condensed that down, and then I knew all I actually had to know was that, and it was so much less like threatening and scary than looking at 150 pages and thinking, oh my god, I have to learn all of that by May. So moving on to tip number 4, we have learn your weaknesses. Where do you suck? Basically, I sucked in a lot of areas, and I learned that, and I was like, oh my god, Saskia, your paper 1 is not good, or oh Jesus, you cannot write an essay. But I learned at the beginning of my course, I can't write these essays. So I was like, right, what am I going to practice? I'm going to practice writing these essays because they're worth a lot of my grade and I can't do them. Or I was like, right, well, my paper 1, like, I thought I was good at it, but it keeps coming back bad. Like, that's another thing within this. Like, if you kind of have 3 papers and your paper 1 is awful, do a lot more practice papers of paper 1, because, you know, it doesn't really matter if it's not that high percentage weighting. Like, if you're god awful at it, you need to at least get it up to like an okay solid level where it's not going to completely drag you down. So, you know, work out where you're not so good at things, work out where you're pulling yourself down in exams, and work on that. Sit down with your teacher, ask them to help you. Do practices of that, like ask your teacher to mark them. Spend your time on the bits that you are not so good at, so that you can kind of not drag yourself down. Like, obviously, like, you want to spend your time on your high weighting papers so they can pull you up, but also you don't want to like completely ignore the bits that you're not good at, because then it doesn't matter that you do well in a high weighting paper, because your other paper's going to be so bad that you don't get pulled up, you just kind of get pulled like middle. If you're getting an A star in paper 2, a B in paper 3, and then a D in paper 1, the A star and the B are fine. They'll kind of cancel each other out and you'll get an A or an A star. But the D, you're going to need to work on that grade if you want to kind of manage to keep yourself all the way at a B or an A or an A star. Then we have the last one, which is learn how you learn. So learn your learning style. Work out, how do you actually learn best? Like, how do you revise best? How does information go in your brain the best? Like, do you want to listen to your information? Do you want to literally put your notes in a text-to-speech reader and just listen to them? Close your eyes or walk around and just listen. Do you want to watch videos on them? Do you want to look at posters? Like, is it going to help you to stick up posters of like different things around your room? Is it going to help you to have flashcards? Will you work best by literally just like answering questions? And the only way for you to learn is just keep answering essays. So in year 12, preferably near the beginning, maybe when it comes to like your mocks in year 12, just try loads of different revision techniques. Like, you should kind of know from GCSEs. But if you don't know from GCSEs how is the best way for you to learn, do it in year 12. Work out, how do you learn? Try like posters, watching videos, flashcards, like massive documents, audio, doing essays, doing exams, doing practice questions, like reading the spec, reading example answers. Like, work out which way is going to be the best for you. That is how I got all A stars at sixth form. Well, obviously there's more to it, but these are like the 5 tips to help you get all A stars. So I'm just going to quickly run through them again. Understand as you go. Understand what you're talking about, understand what you're learning, make sure you understand what's happening. Then look after your own health, take breaks, look after yourself. Academics is not the most important thing in the world. Then work smart, not hard. Learn the least amount of content you can learn, reduce the amount of content you need to know, spend more time on high weighting exams, that kind of thing. Then learn your weaknesses, where are you not so good, and practice them. And then learn how you learn. Work out how you learn best and work like that. So that is all my tips on how to get all A stars at sixth form. Hopefully this video was helpful in some way, shape or form. If it was, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment if you want to. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope everyone is doing really well.